following show is controversial and contains content you may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
We're back again. Good morning. Well, we had a vicious morning yesterday. We had a lovely afternoon yesterday afternoon, and between now and lunchtime we're going to be lashed out of it again, apparently, wind-wise anyway. That's what the weather says. Good morning. Welcome to 98 FM. This is Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy, and we're here until midday today. Now, what have we coming up on today's programme? Here's the rundown in a moment. He's alive. This is the most bizarre story. The drama surrounding a football team in Ballybrack and a player who was dead and now he's not. We'll have all the inside details. Basically, this is just the most bizarre excuse for a group of lads wanting to go on a stag. That's really the truth behind this Ballybrack story. We'll also be talking to a Ballymun man who speaks out about a racist attack on a taxi driver. And it's very interesting to hear. This is a conversation that this guy had with a taxi driver after he was abused by a punter. We'll fill you in on that story a little bit later on. Yesterday we revealed, I didn't realise this was even a thing, but yesterday we revealed that Walker's had released a Brussels sprouts flavoured crisps. Now, I love my Brussels sprouts, but the thoughts of having Brussels sprouts flavoured crisps is just really... We're going to be asking today what you would like to see as a flavour of crisps. Text us right now to 0877 98 98 98. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. If you had your way, what flavour crisps would you like to see being invented? And we'll throw in some IMC cinema passes as well, if you come on air a little bit later on. Okay? So text me or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. And what else we got? We'll be finding out about an event taking place in Tala, which is aimed at encouraging more women to breastfeed in public, and to hell with the begrudgers. Because sadly there are some people still who don't like breastfeeding in public places. If you're one of those people, I want to talk to you later on and find out what your issue is. Or do many dinosaurs like that still exist? We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But first, one of the most bizarre stories in a long time. And here, before we start slamming the guy who did this, we've all done this. Now, maybe not to this level, maybe not to this extent, but we've all, basically told a porky pie that got out of hand, really. I've done it myself now, not to that extent. I'll tell you my story in a couple of minutes. Do any of you have any porky pies that came back to haunt you? I'd love to hear from you on 6797981. Now, you know the story that I'm about to talk about. A Dublin soccer club has apologised for a grave and unacceptable mistake after it was revealed that they'd faked the death of a player to cancel a match last weekend. Ballybrack Football Club had reported that their player, Fernando Nuno Lafuente, was killed in a road traffic accident on Thursday on the way home from training. Now, obviously, that would have come as a huge shock to the Leinster Senior Football League. The club requested that they can not play their game against our club, which was to take place on Saturday. The league said, yeah, no problem, obviously. This is really sad. Somebody has passed away. And yet they granted their call for the match not to go ahead. But there was more to it than met the eye. The player wasn't dead at all. I want to read a full statement from Ballybrack Senior Football Team, which was issued last night. And here's what they say. In response to recent events and the information which is currently in circulation across social and mainstream media, it has come to the attention of both the club, senior players and the management team that a gross error of judgment has occurred, emanating from correspondence sent from a member of the senior setup management team to the Leinster Senior League. As of this evening, this is last night, An emergency meeting was held and the person in question has been relieved of all footballing duties within Ballybrack Football Club in senior team and roles within the club itself. The club has contacted Fernando to confirm his whereabouts, well-being, and are thankful for his acceptance of our apology on this matter. Now, they go on to say, this grave and unacceptable mistake was completely out of character and was made by a person who's been experiencing severe personal difficulties unbeknownst to any other members of the club. The club will continue to provide a duty of care to all parties and offer the support that may be needed at this time. This person had previously contributed greatly to the senior team within the club in recent years and to the wider footballing community across Dublin for decades. At this stage, we can only offer our sincere apologies to the Leinster Senior League, our opponents Arklow Town, and the host of clubs and football people who made contact with us or offered messages of support in recent days. The past few years has seen good progress made in regards to renewal of senior football in the Ballybrack area. We are all taken aback by this event and hope to try to work with all relevant organisations and agencies to learn from this mistake. So that's really what they said in response to, the secretary of the club contacting the Leinster League and saying one of our players has died, we can't play the match on Saturday. Really what it was is they all wanted to go on the stag. That's what we've since learned. I'm joined on the line by David Moran, who is the chairman of the Leinster Football League. David, tell me when you first learned of this.
Well, obviously the club contacted us on Friday to say that there'd been an accident, a road traffic accident on Thursday night. And obviously they wanted a game off against Arklow the following day, Saturday, which was granted for obvious reasons.
And they had notified you that one of their players had been killed in a road traffic accident.
That's correct, yeah.
This player is a Spanish national. His name is Fernando Nuno La Fuente. So when you heard about this, obviously you granted them the match. In hindsight, do we understand as to why they didn't want to play the match?
From what we can believe on social media, they just hadn't got enough players. And I think it just started a little stroke and then it's just escalated then. Look, we get phone calls, Adrian, like that all the time, the kit man's died or whatever. But there's very rarely names mentioned, unless they're really well-known names in the world of amateur football. But this time it was a young player, 28 years of age. Obviously everybody was upset about it, so that's why it was granted.
And as a result of the Leinster Senior Football League learning of this supposed death, there were a number of teams that had minute silence and wore black armbands and so on over the weekend.
Yes, we would have put out a circular to all our members by email, informed them of what had happened. And a lot of clubs done that, yes, had a minute silence, which is upsetting for them too, because obviously now we know it wasn't true. So
when did you start learning that all was not as it seemed and that in fact this particular player wasn't dead at all?
It started to unravel on Monday morning when we requested details of the funeral service or removal, and we were told that the body was flown home on Saturday, which we knew was unrealistic. Okay,
so the lie continued.
Unfortunately, the hole got bigger, Adrian, definitely.
Now, when you eventually learned that this player wasn't dead, in fact is in the whole of his health, what will happen to Ballybrack? Now, I understand that the club secretary who was involved in spinning this yarn has subsequently been dismissed.
He's been dismissed. There was a statement issued from the club last night. I don't think there's a rule, Adrian, covering something like this, to be honest with you.
There's no rule?
No, but obviously there's the bringing the game into disrepute. We'll meet the club tomorrow night. We'll go through it. We'll take advice from the FEI legal department as to where we take this. But our focus, Adrian, has slightly changed this morning. Our executive spoke last night. We're a little bit concerned of the ridicule that this individual is facing at the moment, who started this yarn, for want of a better word, Adrian. And we're a little bit concerned for him, and we're hoping to reach out to him today.
Okay, and obviously we wouldn't want any ill will towards him, but it was a bizarre thing to say that one of your players has passed away. And, I accept that you don't want any major focus, but still, it was ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. And you know what, Adrian? It was a gem of an idea, a little stroke. We get the game called off. All the lads are going off on a stag. We won't have a team. And it just seemed to escalate, and the hole got bigger, and he just kept digging it. And that's what it looks like has happened here. And that's why our focus has changed now. Fernando's okay. Look, nobody died, Adrian. I know that's a pun, but we need to talk about this other man now, because this man is under serious pressure now, because all the media outlets, everybody wants to know his name, wants to know who he is, and we're just a bit concerned about him now.
Okay, and I understand that, and I get that. But in terms of the club itself, this person was a representative of the club who spun this yarn about a player having passed away, no such thing. What sort of sanctions can the league issue against Ballybrack FC?
We looked at it briefly last night. The only rule it comes under is bringing the game into disrepute. So we'll meet the club tomorrow night, and we'll make the proper decisions based on that meeting.
Okay, but back to what you said about bringing the game into disrepute. This certainly has. This isn't just in the news here in Ireland. This has actually gone worldwide.
I know. Yeah, it's very upsetting for Fernando, for the Ballybrack community, and for the club, and for the Leinster Senior League. You know, we'll try and support everybody as best we can, and it looks like we've got to the bottom of this, and we'll deal with it as fairly as we can.
Okay, now just back to the statement that was issued by the club. They said that the claim was made by mistake by a person experiencing severe personal difficulties, who's now been relieved of their responsibilities in the club, and you are now reaching out to that person.
We're going to try and reach out to him today.
All right, David Moran, chairman of the Leinster Senior Football League. Thanks very much indeed for joining us on 98 FM.
Thank you, Adrian.
Okay, and it's a serious enough story, okay, that they would fake somebody's death in order to get out of playing a football match. But there's a kind of a funny side to it as well, because here's the reality. We have all told porky pies that went a little bit out of control. Now, maybe not to that extent of somebody being dead, but we all have, and anybody who says they haven't is a liar. So before any of us jump on the bandwagon and try and troll this man who made this claim, think to yourself, we have all done it. And I want to hear from you on 6797981. As David said himself, nobody's dead here. That's the main thing. We can smile at it now. It was very serious to make such an allegation in order to get out of playing a football match. But as he said, he doesn't want that person to be trolled and made a scapegoat of. We've all told little porky pies in our time, haven't we? I want you to text or WhatsApp me now on 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. What little lie have you told that you couldn't control, basically, that ran away on you? I'll give you an example, okay? Here's a good example of one that happened to me about 10 years ago. And it was towards the end of the year, and I had no holiday days left in work. So we headed off to a wedding, and from the bedroom of the hotel that we were staying in, I rang the boss and I said, I'm really dying, I'm not going to be in today, I'm really feeling well. I rang Jeremy with that same voice, Jeremy, I'm not feeling well at all. And I was off for the day. But I wasn't really sick at all. I actually went to a wedding, and what a great wedding it was. Had a great old day. Such a good day was it that later on that night I ended up singing Sweet Caroline on karaoke. I did, this is true. Anyway, the next day when I was back at work, feeling back to normal, I was doing my show the next day, my radio show the next day, and a number of text messages came into the radio station to say, Adrian, well done on singing Sweet Caroline last night. You were brilliant. And Jeremy started saying to me, what are those messages about? I thought you were sick yesterday. And I continued to say, oh, yeah, no, I was. I'm still not feeling great. Another message came in. Adrian, that was some rendition of Sweet Caroline at the wedding last night. To which Jeremy then said, wedding last night? And this went on, and eventually I had to confess that I wasn't actually sick the day before, that I was in fact at a wedding, I had no holiday days left, and that's what happened. It was very embarrassing, because I thought I was going to get away with it, but then sure, I forgot I was even on a day sick, and I got up and sang and everything else. But anyway, so there you go. I was hung out to dry by people who didn't even realise that I'd blagged a day off sick, if you know what I mean. So we've all done it. We've all told lies that come back to haunt us. What's yours? Call me right now on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. What little lie have you told that just ran away on you? Killian, you're on Dublin's 98 FM. How are you, Killian?
Morning, Adrian.
Killian, tell me about the lie that you got caught out on.
Right, so after work, you know yourself, you like to go for a sneaky pint the odd time, right?
Ah, yeah, sure, why not?
Exactly, so my father's my boss, so I told him I had a meeting with, because we had some break-ins in the job, I told him that I had a meeting with a security company, and I had to go early at about 3 o'clock to go meet these lads. And then I rang my missus and told her that, listen, I'm going to the doctor, I'm not feeling too well, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, long story short, I was getting away with it up until then, came home, so I went in, just give a little brush of the teeth so she didn't cop out. And my ma rang my missus and says, oh, so how did Killian get on to the doctors today? And Michelle said, Killian was at a meeting for a security company. And then the whole thing just came out then. I got caught.
Oh, just to have a couple of beers?
A couple of sneaky points with one of the lads from work, yeah.
And had you rang her, okay, I understand how you had to tell some porkies and work to go for a couple of pints, but why didn't you tell herself?
Well, just, you know, so she's at home with the kids and all that, and she probably had a few things to do that evening, and I just said, no, look, I'm going to leave work early so I can still get home around the time I usually get home and still have a few pints. But no, it didn't work out that way. Well, it did, but I got caught. You got caught
by the you-know-what.
Absolutely.
And like I said, it has happened to all of us. It has happened to absolutely all of us at one stage or another. And all just for a couple of pints. And mine was just for a wedding. I could have gone to my boss and said, look, I've no days left, but I need a day off for this wedding. Can I take it out of next year's holidays? And I just didn't. I thought I'd get away with pretending I was sick. And I believe it or not, it was the first and only sickie I ever pulled. I've never done it since, and I never did it before that. And the one time that I actually did it, I got caught.
Actually, there was one other one, I'll be quick, but I was in the bookies, and I won about 500 quid on an accumulator, and I didn't tell herself. I said, no, I only won about 50 quid. And she found the bet slip. I left in my jeans, hadn't collected it yet. And she found the slip, and it tells you on the accumulator how much you've won. So she got that as well.
As somebody says on text message just a second ago, Killian, you need to grow a pair. You need to grow a pair. All right, fair play. Thanks very much indeed, Killian. What little porky pies have you told that just ran away from you? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. This is on the back of that story from Ballybrack Football Club, which, okay, is a serious enough story, but at the end of the day, nobody is dead. The guy who was supposedly dead isn't. He's accepted the club's apology, so we can all move on. This was just something that somebody in the club decided to... it's not unusual. You'll remember Stephen Ireland did the exact same thing about his granny. We've all done it. In fact, we've probably all said our granny is dead to get a day off work. But anyway, the point being, we have all told a lie along the way that is basically we've been caught out on. I want to know what yours is. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Just back to the football, and every club, says this message, in the Leinster Senior League have rang to get a game off by saying that a morning in the club, that they're in mourning in the club, but this one just got out of control. The players shouldn't be sanctioned or punished in this. Those lads are decent lads and don't deserve to be punished. Also, that management team is also full of decent people. This is just a lie that went out of control. Okay? And that is the fact of it. Paul, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Paul?
How are you, Adrian? How are you?
Paul, tell me about your mate getting caught.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. We all walked in on the buses, right? And he was a huge GAA fan. And he had gotten tickets for Croke Park. Now, at the time, they were like gold dust.
So it must have been for a final, was it?
It was. You know, I'm going back to the 80s, maybe 80s, 90s. But we were all sitting in the canteen having a chat, and he was there. I won't mention his name in case he's listening. But anyway, he had tickets. He got 2 tickets to go to Croke Park to see the final. He was a huge Dublin fan. But he was marked up. He was rostered to work on the Sunday. It was his late Sunday. And to get it off, to try and get a day's holidays or whatever on the day of an All-Ireland final is almost impossible because it's going to be busy.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But anyway, he rang in sick, and Lord and behold, anyway, we all knew that he'd gone to Croke Park. But fair play to RTE, didn't the camera swing around? And who's sitting in the stands cheering his head off? And he was caught like everyone has seen it. So when he came into work on the Monday, I needn't tell you, he got some stick. But he as I said, he rang in sick, wasn't sick at all, wasn't going to let the 2 tickets go to waste, and ended up getting caught on camera and for the whole of Ireland to see.
If you're going to tell a lie, and that was my mistake as well. Not only did I tell a lie about needing the day off for the wedding, and instead I said I was sick. I then went and got up and sang karaoke at the bloody thing, and I was caught rapid. I should have kept my head down and just sat in the corner.
Exactly.
All right, good to hear from you. Thanks very much indeed. If you've any more, text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. We've all done it, either to get out of work or to get out of a football match or whatever. This particular issue just basically ran out of control. We'll take a quick break. We're back in just a moment. This is 98 FM.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. With Des Kelly Interiors. New wood flooring fitted in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie. 98 FM.
Just very quickly, a couple more of your stories. I love this one. I told my missus I was going to my uncle's house for 2 days as he wasn't feeling the best. Bag packed, off I went to Amsterdam with the lads. I was caught when she rang the phone and got an international dial tone, says Stephen. Tut, tut, tut. And this is not me that I'm outing, it's my mam. She had consistently told her partner that she was 10 years younger than she actually was, and she always made sure he never saw anything with her age on it. But while on holiday, she forgot to hide her passport, and he found it, and he copped her date of birth. They were together about 10 years before he realised she was actually the age she actually was, and not what he had always thought. And, sorry, another one here. I was about 17. I was in my first year apprenticeship and had a football match midweek and needed to finish early. So I said that my auntie had died. I got off work early. But when I got home, my lie came true. My auntie was found dead in her house that afternoon. Be careful what you wish for, Tony. That's Tony in Bettystown. And one last one. Years ago, I fractured my elbow, and my then girlfriend ironed some shirts for me, and I said they looked great. She went off to the gym, and I tried to re-iron them, only for her to come back home and catch me trying to iron them again. She never ironed another thing for me after that. In other words, you should be honest enough to say, look, your ironing is brutal. Now, just to wrap up on the that whole football story and the lie that got out of control, we've just been sent a statement from a company called Glowfox. And Glowfox are the employers of this young Spanish man, Fernando Lafuente. And here's what the statement from Glowfox says. This is breaking news. This has just come into us. As Fernando Lafuente's employers in Ireland, we would like to issue the following statement on his behalf. Fernando moved from Spain to Ireland in 2017 to join our engineering team in Dublin. In September this year, Fernando relocated to the west of Ireland to help lead and grow the mobile app development team in our new Galway office. Fernando is still employed by Glowfox and still living in Galway. Fernando was completely unaware of the false statement made in relation to his association with Ballybrack Football Club. He only learned of the false statement over the past few days through social media. It's been an extremely anxious time for Fernando as he tries to speak to family members and friends before they hear the news through social or other media. We ask that all media respect Fernando's privacy at this time, as he has not asked for any of this attention and would like to get back to some sense of normality over the next few days. And that is a statement from Spanish man's employers here in Ireland, and they are Glowfox. And we did request an interview with Fernando, but I'm sure you can understand he didn't, as his employers say, he didn't ask for any of this attention and would like to get back to his normal life. I can completely understand that. Now, next on the programme, I'm joined on the line by Jamie, who is a social media influencer and a mental health activist from Ballymun. And Jamie has a story to tell, and this is something we hear regularly on this programme about racism against taxi drivers who may hail from Africa. And Jamie joins me on the line to tell me something that happened on Monday. Jamie, welcome to 98 FM.
Morning, Adrian. How are you?
Good morning, Jamie. How are you?
I'm good.
Now, Jamie, there you were in a taxi on Monday night, and you experienced what appears to have been the aftermath of a racist attack on a taxi driver. Tell me what happened.
So I normally get taxis from the same place every time I'm in town, and I get in this fella's taxi, and you kind of look, when you know someone is a bit, I don't know how to phrase it, but when you know someone is a little bit shocked. And I said, how are you, man? How are you? Ballymun, please. And normally when you say Ballymun, get into a taxi at 2 a.m, you get a bit of a look. And it's just what happens. But he said to me, no problem, my friend. And we were chatting away, and I said, oh, you Nigerian? And he said, yeah, how did you know? I said, oh, you have the same name as my friend who's Nigerian. And he said, oh, cool. And I joked, I said, oh, jollof rice is my favourite meal. And he said to me, oh, I wish everyone was as nice as you. And I said, what do you mean? Everyone is as nice as me. He said, oh, the people in my car before you, they were horrible people. They called me names and they were just awful to me. And I was like, what? He said, yeah, they accused me of not being the person on the licence. And they said that, coming over here, taking their jobs. And I was just like, oh my God, man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Like, what the hell?
So he was visibly upset then?
Oh, he was so hurt by it. Like, when someone is just actually hurt by a statement and you can see it in their face, he was just hurt.
And did you get to talk to him about whether or not this sort of thing happens often?
He said, it happens all the time and you just learn to live with it, but sometimes it gets you. And I was like, oh my God, nobody should have to learn to live with racism. And he said something to me that really struck me. He said, Irish people always say, I'm not racist, but... And that just for me was awful. That made me ashamed to be Irish.
And it is an expression I've heard many, many, many times over the years. I'm not a racist, but... And before they finish that sentence, they start uttering loads of racist rubbish, basically. As far as you're concerned... You could see this man was visibly upset. He has kind of gotten used to it. That's what he said. He's gotten used to the racist abuse.
The mad thing is, I said to him, how long do you live in Ireland? He said, 17 years. He said, my 2 children are Irish. I've got an Irish passport. I'm Irish. And I said, to be honest with you, mate, you're as Irish as the next guy to me. I said, you have an Irish passport. You live here. You pay your taxes here. And he is Irish. This is where he calls home. This is where he feels safe. To me, he's Irish.
But obviously, to some others, he's not.
Yeah, which is sad, because the funny thing is, the people who are racially abusing him probably haven't ever done anything progressive with their lives ever. This guy is out doing night shifts to feed his family.
And okay, so when you heard this story that the passengers before yours, or before in the same car before you were, and you could see that the guy was visibly stressed and upset over what had happened. The most shocking thing about this story is this man telling you that you get used to it, that this is nothing new.
And he said to me, other taxi men, people of the public, he said everybody likes to have a go. And he said, and I thought, and I'm not going to lie, Adrian, when he was saying this, I was like, okay, he's playing this card a bit. And then I sort of said, and then he said to me, but you just get on with it. And then I was like, oh my God, he shouldn't have to just get on with it.
Okay, I want to get your reaction to this, Jamie, okay? 2 messages we're just after getting about the story that you're telling, about how visibly upset this African taxi driver was, although, as you said yourself, he's Irish. He has lived here for 17 years. His kids are Irish, everything else. The first message that came in says, oh my God, Adrian, more racist card bull being pulled. What do you say to that?
People like that in society just bug me. I want to live, as like Jeremy's seen my tweet, I want to live in an Ireland for everyone. I don't care what colour your skin is or where you're from. Just let's get on in society. People say, all the homeless in Ireland. Like my mum was on yesterday talking about the homeless, and it's mad because all the Irish, all the homeless. There's African people homeless in Ireland too. Mm. And I remember saying to a fella, me and my man, we work with the homeless, and he said to me, bet you there's no bleeding Africans. I said, yeah, there is, yeah. I said, yeah, but they get their houses forced. I said, no, they don't. They're on the list like everyone else. As entitled as they are to be, if they're struggling to be on a list. And that, the kind of people that say that are the kind of people that send in that message to you there.
And here's another one, and this is another problem that we have spoken about on this programme before. Personally, I would choose a white Irish taxi driver over a black African one, as chances are they will know the best route. I will likely have more in common with them. That's not racist, that's just preferential, and people are allowed to have preferences.
No, that's racism. That is racism. And I'll tell you why, Adrian. I get taxis a lot from town, and I've get in Irish lads taxis on Westmoreland Street to go to Ballymun. They went up, turned up Eden Quay, up Gardner Street and got stuck in traffic on purpose. Anybody else, they'll just go up O'Connell Street. So I've actually been ripped off more times by Irish taxi men than I have by any other race. And
in fact, I had an example a couple of years ago of being driven in a taxi by a guy that I found out was from Tala, and I asked him to bring me to Dunleary, and he had no idea how to get to Dunleary. I couldn't believe it. He had no idea how to get to Dunleary, so yeah.
So this stuff of people saying, oh, them black lads will rip you off, it's wrong. It's actually in their culture, because I love learning about cultures. And in the Nigerian culture, honesty is the main thing.
Well, stay there for 1 second. Stephen, you have a simple solution to this.
Well, I think I have, Adrian. Yeah. Good morning, first of all. I think they should have a dash cam and reverse it around onto passengers, Adrian. And just bring it down to the guards then and report them.
I actually don't understand why all taxi drivers don't, as a matter of course, or maybe as a matter of law, have a dash cam in the car looking into the car. I don't understand why they don't, because it's there for their protection.
Well, I think the NTA should be doing that for them.
Yes,
they shouldn't even have to do it themselves. It should be part of the test that they go for, you know.
Yeah, so you
should have a camera inside. If you don't, they don't get their entry key.
You get your meter in the car and you get your dash cam in the car straight away, first thing.
And they all get calibrated together. Yeah, that'd be easy to do. That'd be no hassle.
It would be. And then that guy would have had some comeback. Because we do hear too many stories of this sort of thing. And as you could hear from Jamie, he was horrified by this guy saying, well, you just get used to it. You shouldn't have to just get used to it.
Yeah. That's awful, and it's supposed to be the country of 1,000 welcomes. It's absolutely disgraceful out there. The poor chap doing a bit of work, you know what I mean? These layabouts probably weren't even working themselves, you know what I mean? They usually don't, those type of people. But I definitely will get a dash cam if that chap's listening, and stick it straight onto the passengers, and hopefully that should sort it out for them.
Yeah, that would make
it. That does a deterrent, Adrian, as well. If every camera was, or every taxi had one, people would know there's a camera in it, and they probably wouldn't do it then.
All right, and then a couple more messages. I hate racists. It makes me ashamed to be Irish when some Irish people are racist scumbags. And then another one, by complete contrast, Jamie. Get him off the radio. Ashamed to be Irish. He's the disgrace. What do you say to that?
I am ashamed to be Irish. When I hear of like Stephen said, the country of a thousand welcomes. When I hear people who have made the journey across the world to come to Ireland to live a better life because Ireland is made to look like that, come here, we'll welcome you. And they're not welcomed. That makes me ashamed to be Irish. I come through the airport coming home from work in the UK and they say to me, welcome home, and I feel great. But then I get into the taxi and hear that and I go, God, I'm ashamed.
And let me read out one more message, and it says, I would never ever make a racial slur or actively be racist to someone. I have to take a lot of taxis from all different people. I have found that the less pleasant experiences were from African drivers. I agree the majority of African taxis are perfectly fine, but if from my experience it is more likely that a bad journey will come from an African driver compared to others. I shall avoid them whenever I can. I'm
not racist, but...
Yeah, that's exactly what that's saying. Yeah,
I'm not racist, but...
All right. On that note, Jamie, thanks very much indeed for highlighting your story of ongoing racism. And it's something that I'm nearly sick talking about, ongoing racism against taxi drivers, just out trying to do an honest job. And yes, if you have an issue with a particular taxi driver, sure, don't get into his taxi again. But if you're just deciding not to get into a taxi just because it's being driven by a black guy, don't, for starters. And if you do, don't start picking on him. Now, Jeremy's here in studio with me.
Yeah, last Christmas, actually, Adrian, it's interesting we're talking about that. Last Christmas, I had a very similar story to Jamie's story where we got into a taxi outside. What's that? The smallest pub in Ireland, the one on Dawson Street. The one that's like your
Dawson Lounge.
The Dawson Lounge. We were in the Dawson Lounge. 3 lads on a night out over Christmas. We hailed the taxi and lo and behold, a taxi driver pulled up and he was a black taxi driver. Something that never crosses my mind. We got straight into the taxi and normally they're quite chatty. African taxi drivers, and they'll have a bit of laugh with you and stuff like this. And this fella wasn't chatting to us at all. And one of my mates turned around to me and he says, "Are you all right, bud? Are you okay? It's Christmas, you should be happy." And he says, "I'm very upset with the customer that was here before us." The customer that got it into his taxi just before us, yeah, had an argument with him over a fare, which is fair enough. You know, you argue with taxi drivers over a fare. The passenger had turned around to this taxi driver and said, "You should be swinging out of a tree in the jungle," and got out of the taxi. That's what he said to him. The exact
But that
quote.
same person would say, "I'm not racist, but..."
Like if you no matter what argument you have with someone, you can call the taxi driver an asshole over a fare, but to say you should be swinging out of a tree in a jungle. And these men have to do this on a nightly basis. It's ridiculous.
Now, you have a story for me here about stress levels in the workplace.
Yes. I'd say taxi drivers fairly high up there after hearing that story. But this is a report in the news over the last 24 hours about how stress in the workplace is higher than ever before. Now, Adrian, do you feel stressed? You look stressed. You're all hunched up and your shoulders
No, I'm actually grand today, no.
Are you?
All good, yeah.
Are you sure? Yesterday?
No.
Okay, how would you rate your job? And I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think about that, Adrian. So the job you do at the moment, okay?
Mm-hmm.
How do you describe your job? How do you write it down on the census? What are you?
Radio presenter.
Radio presenter?
Yeah.
You don't put that down when you're getting car insurance, do you?
I do now, actually.
They wouldn't insure you?
No, I actually do now.
Okay, so
yeah,
you have...
my new insurance, yes.
Okay, so
radio presenter, yeah.
Your job is radio presenter.
Correct.
I want you to think about this for about 20 seconds, okay? And I want you to rate the stress of your job on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 meaning... to walk in the park. 10 meaning you want to pull your hair out every day. Okay? So think about that for 20 to 30 seconds. Yeah. And we want you to do the same. And we're going to give you the stats of this in a moment. But we want you to text, because this is a social experiment, we want you to text the job that you work at, no matter what it is. So if it's a pilot, if it's a stay-at-home mum, that's a job as well. So we simply want you to text the job you do and rate the stress of your job in marks out of 10. 10 being the most stressful, 0. Now, I don't think anybody's job is a 0. What job has 0 stress?
There will be a few.
Who? Who are these people and how can I sign up to their job?
Okay, so what we want you to do is text or WhatsApp us right now on 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. I want you to text the job that you do and rate the stress level out of 10. So, so radio presenter, and I'm going to rate my stress level at about 5.
Really?
Yeah, 5.
Wow.
Not 10.
Okay.
We do have stressful days some days. Other days are a lot more relaxed.
I think you handle stress better than I do.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Because you have that thing that I don't have to deal with stress.
Which is?
You know the way you pop off for 5 minutes on your own when you're stressed? I can't do that.
I know, I do still smoke, yeah.
Adrian, when he gets stressed, he goes up to the top of the building and has a cigarette. I don't have that luxury. So you're putting yourself down as
a 5 out of 10, I would say.
Wow, okay.
From my particular job.
What
would you put yours?
Okay, my job, and here's what I would text in. My job is radio producer. And I'm going to have to put down 8.5.
Really?
Yeah. Very stressful job. And I'm actually not taking the mick here, I'm deadly serious. The stress levels of my job I would put down as 8.5.
Okay, 8.5 out of 10. I'm saying 5.
Because it's my job to make sure this whole show that people listen to runs smoothly, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You're merely the puppet. You sit here and say what's been told to say.
Yeah.
So a lot more stress on me.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So he's saying 8.5, I'm saying 5. We want you to text or WhatsApp right now to 0877 98 98 98. We want you to text your job and the level of stress out of 10 that you think your job has. And we'll tell you all about the workplace stress level survey straight after the break.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors, delivering your new bed in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie. 98 FM.
If you work in a very stressful job and you share with us your stress levels, we may send you for a chill out night at the cinema. With thanks to IMC Cinemas, okay? Jeremy, you're rated 8.5. Could you do with a night at the cinema?
Well, the amount of trolling I've after getting because I said my job was 8.5.
Yeah.
People think I don't have a stressful job. You've no idea what I go through on a daily basis. No idea, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, you're well able to switch your phone off for hours on end. It's not a very stressful job.
Yes, because
people who have stressful jobs don't have their phone ever switched off.
Right.
Taking calls all day, every day, yep.
Okay, we've yet to get a 10 out of 10. Now, there's literally hundreds coming in. We haven't got a 10 out of 10 yet, so we're still waiting for that 10 out of 10. And again, this is a report out today saying that more people than ever before are stressed in the workplace. Workplace stress levels, Adrian, among Irish people have more than doubled over the past 5 years. Okay, so a lot more people are stressed. The study for the Health and Safety Authority finds that job stress went from 8% in 2010 to 17% in the last couple of years. Now,
poor old Jeremy is losing his hair because, well, no, you were losing your hair anyway. Long before you had a stressful job, but...
Yeah, well, no, that's me genes. That's
so it's just been sped up. Is that what it is?
I don't have cigarettes to fall back on. I've nothing to fall back on.
Well, now, can I just say, I just want to debunk a myth. Cigarettes don't relieve your stress at all.
Oh, you told me they did before.
No, that's just my excuse for going for a smoke.
Oh, is that the reason?
Sarah, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Sarah.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Sarah, what's your job and how would you rate it stress-wise?
I'm a stay-at-home mum and I just didn't want to say 10 out of 10. I'd actually say about 15 out of 10.
There's always one that has to go above the scale, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I have a son with Asperger's and that, like, lately, it's kind of only manifested in the last year.
Right.
And by God, that is the most stressful. Like, I can't even walk into a shop with him without him being rude to people around me. Like, it's like he's emotionally blind to other people's feelings. So if somebody, like, hits off him or brushes off him, he will literally, like, mute his mouth and he'd be like, "You're so rude." And, like, I'll have people looking at me and I'm then trying to get, like, not get stressed. Like, I was only in Tesco yesterday and I had 2 people tell me that my son was rude.
Yeah, but that's ignorance because people don't understand the condition that your child has.
But he's not wearing a T-shirt saying it either.
He's only 11, so you're not going to, like, he doesn't even understand it. Do you know what I mean? So
okay, so being a stay-at-home mom is extremely stressful.
Yeah, very.
So what score are you giving it so we can write it down?
Honestly, I'm going to say about 11.
Well, the scale is out of 10.
Yeah. Well, let's say 10 then.
It's like when my boss turns around to me and says, and he regularly says this, "Jeremy, today I want you to give me 150%. You can't give 150%. How can you give more than 100%?
No, you can't actually.
It's not possible.
No. Okay, Sarah reckons her stay-at-home mom job is 10 out of 10. Now, I would think a stressful job is... And in fact, I think they're listed very highly on the stress list. People working in the health service.
Let me see. Yeah, you're actually right, Adrian.
Yeah.
Workplace stress is highest in the health sector with 80.
You can imagine running an A&E department. And
no, I can't imagine.
There's a queue out the door and everybody's screaming at you and everybody thinks they're sicker than the next person, and you're just trying to do your very best to deal with everybody. That has to be the most stressful job in the world. It really does. And I've seen them operate and I do feel sorry for them. Vitas, you're on 98 FM. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I'm very well. How are you?
Now, what do you work at and what would you rate your stress levels?
For the last few years, I was working with the delivery service. I really feel sorry for the guys who do delivery service, especially up to the door with the big companies like DHL, DPD, and all the rest. It's awful.
Now, okay, so you have to deliver within a deadline, do you?
Yeah, well, basically, there's a very strict time frame for the package to deliver. Let's say you have 3 minutes to go from point A to point B, grab the package, give it to the customer, receive the signature, and from point B to get to point C.
And are you cycling or are you in a van or what?
No, you have to drive through the town in the van with the traffic and all that.
Okay, so you might have 5 minutes to get this package from A to B, and then you hop into the van, and my God, the traffic...
You never have 5 minutes. You have only 3 minutes at max.
Okay, but you hop back into your van and discover, oh my God, it's lashing rain and the traffic is mental.
Lots of times, you start work very early from 6 in the morning, finishing at 7 in the evening. You're trying to do your parcels. You're dealing with the warehouse. You're dealing with the customers as well.
Jeez, I'm getting stressed just listening to you.
Yes, so am I.
What score are you going to give yourself?
I would give 9 from 10, definitely.
9 out of 10?
9 out of 10?
Yeah.
Jeremy, you always said I'd love to be a delivery driver. They've no stress in their lives at all.
Yeah, but I didn't say they're live on the radio.
We couldn't believe what happens on the delivery service when you work with it. Like I had a few weeks ago the issue with the customer. I had the 3 large boxes, like about 30, 40 kilos in my hands. Customer on the phone, opened the door, wouldn't let me in.
Yeah.
I have to hold the boxes, and she speaks on the phone, ignoring you totally for 10 minutes. After that complains that you being rude and all that.
I'd say the most stressful part of your job as a delivery driver would be parking on double yellow lines and double parking outside buildings when people are beeping at you to get out of the way. That must be very stressful.
We've a lot of calls coming in on this. We'll take them in just a moment. 6797 981 is our telephone number. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. And I get really, really stressed when I have to get to an ad break on time. Back in a second. Live and exclusive to Dublin's 98 FM, Monday through Friday between 10 and midday. This is Adrian Kennedy. You're with 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And Trish is here with Wednesday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. A former Ballybrack FC footballer says he's very much alive and kicking, despite his club claiming he died in a car crash to have a match postponed. Fernando Lafuente had relocated to Galway for work and said other clubs started paying tribute to him online and the story began to spread. He said he was aware they were going to try to have the match postponed, but thought they'd say he had a broken leg. He didn't realise he was going to be killed off. The worst of the weather brought on by Storm Diana is expected from 11 a.m. this morning in Dublin. A status yellow wind warning is in place in the city until 6 p.m. this evening. A number of power outages have been reported around Clontarf, Harold's Cross, Milltown and the North Inner City, and some flights have been cancelled out of Dublin Airport. And a giant inflatable Santa has caused havoc for traffic in Cambridgeshire in England. It's after it broke loose from a garden and ended up on a busy road, blocking traffic in both directions. Videos posted online last night show the floating Santa bouncing from side to side. And now you're up to date on 98.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
It's Wednesday morning. I hope everything is good in your world. I'm Adrian Kennedy and this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dublin, by Dublin and about Dublin. It appears from the messages coming in that our listeners are stressed to bits, had the truth be known. Now, here's one I get. Okay, I totally get how you will be stressed doing this job. I would rate my stress levels as 9 out of 10, but it is rewarding. I'm a firefighter and a paramedic with Dublin Fire Brigade. I'm sorry I can't come on air as I'm en route to another ambulance call. Now, I can understand how that job would be a very, very stressful job. And I mentioned a couple of weeks ago how brilliant the guys are, the paramedics and the fire crews. I was involved in a car accident myself a couple of weeks ago.
They really looked after
they
you,
were
didn't
brilliant.
they? Yeah.
They were absolutely brilliant. But that was a fairly easy gig, the crash that I was involved in, had the truth be told. They must arrive at some very hideous car crashes and house fires and everything else, which has to be extremely stressful to deal with.
One of my best friends who's a guard, and I know a lot of people knock the guards, but he regularly tells me about his days at work, and some of the stories I couldn't even repeat on the radio. But like, say for instance, last year he was called to a train track. He doesn't work in Dublin, he works outside Dublin, and he was called to a scene of, well, you know what obviously happened, I don't need to spell it out, but he was called here. He was the first responder and arrived at the train tracks, and what he saw and what he had to do
will probably stay with him for life.
And then on top of all that, he has to go and notify the families and all that. So that's
stressful. That is stressful.
And nobody's even said that about the guards. A guard 20 out of 10 on the stress scale.
Colette, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Colette.
Hiya.
What do you work at and what would you rate your stress levels?
Cabin crew.
Your cabin crew?
Yeah.
And what would you rate your stress levels?
8.5.
8.5?
What?
Yeah.
But don't knock it, Adrian.
Well, no. I could understand it being a stressful job if, for example, the plane was falling out of the sky. That would be very stressful. But what makes it so stressful?
It's getting there, getting to the plane.
Getting to the plane?
Yeah. From the minute you get up in the morning, I do early, you see, and you're praying there's no traffic, you're praying there's no accident, and then you go through security and you get as far as there, and then you hope there's no delays, and if we're full, a lot of things go on. Okay, so
on average, like, what time would your first flight be at?
5:30.
5:30, okay.
You're Ryanair, are you?
No, Aer
Lingus, okay. So your first flight will be at 5:30. So you need to be getting up at what time? At 2 o'clock
3.
or 3?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, in order to make it to the plane on time, I never knew the answer to this. When do you need to be at the plane? A half an hour beforehand?
An hour beforehand.
Oh, an hour beforehand. So you have to be there. You'd have to be there at 5:30.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you're up at 3, head off, and the last thing you need is to meet a car crash or your own car to be punctured or anything like that.
Yeah, disastrous. That's the most stressful part of the day.
Now once you're on the plane...
Once I'm on the plane, once I get to my meeting before the plane, that's okay, but I've had stress there too because silly old me forgot her passport and was sent home and sent back in again on standby.
No.
These things happen.
Really?
Yeah,
I never even thought of that. The cabin crew have to carry their passports all the time.
I never even thought of that either.
No.
And your passport must have about 1,000 stamps on it, does it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I always wanted a passport that had loads of stamps on it. You know, that makes it low. You know when you
Aer Lingus fly primarily in Europe and just America and Canada after that.
Are you on the transatlantic flights as well?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I broke my fingers at work there, so I missed my training.
Okay, so 8.5 out of 10. Fred, what do you do and what would you rate your stress levels?
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, thank you, Fred.
I work in hospitality business. I manage bar, restaurant now. I just quit my job last week. I gave 2 weeks notice.
Okay.
Because of the stress level, I was assistant general manager of one of the iconic restaurants in Ireland. This was part of one of the biggest group in Ireland, but I just saw myself in Christmas not doing it. The stress level is too high, and I just called my operation manager, gave them 2 weeks notice, and I wanted to leave before December so they could hire somebody and train.
Oh, so you even quit with decency, you even quit saying basically you can hire somebody before the Christmas break, I'll give you enough notice. Now, as a matter of interest, what makes the job, or what made the job so stressful?
Well, see, Adrian, if after health service, I think that nowadays, after the recession, hospitality jobs are the most stressful one. Because before, I used to work in one of the busiest nightclub in Ireland in 2007-8, and now and then the stress level has doubled up, because after the recession, the owners have learned how to squeeze the staff and get more hours and give them more job, So now we know, hospitality guys, that the recession is over, but the companies, I'll tell you one small issue. Now, instead of 3-4 staff, as a manager, I will have to have 2-3 staff. So I'm always less. But then the expectations from the customer increased a lot after the recession. And next thing is the hours. We have very difficult hours to work.
But now you knew that before you got the job, didn't you?
Yes, that doesn't reduce the stress level.
But where does the stress come from in hospitality? Is it from putting yourself under pressure or being put under pressure? Or is it...
Let's say, I'll give you one example. See, I'm salaried manager, okay? I have 40 hours. In my contract, it would say sometimes as a manager you have to stay longer. But you can ask any managers, the companies will put us 45 hours in rota and then half an hour extra break. That means 5 days, another half an hour. So I'm in work 47 and a half hours. This is normal.
Okay, so you packed in the job because of the stress levels. What sort of work would you like to do next?
Look, because of the place I work, I left, but then last 12, 14 years, I had no other experience. I'm good at serving drinks and food. I found a job beside my home, just 2 doors next to me. And it's a little bit more fine dining than the restaurant I was working. So I'm hoping the stress level would be a little less.
Okay.
Another thing is, from the owners, the pressure to reduce the hours and make more profit went up to a very greedy level. I am requesting all the owners just be decent nowadays. Recession is over, They wouldn't hire experienced staff. I've been asked to work in a job where you need the experienced staff, but they wouldn't have the money to train them.
Yes, and to pay them appropriately, yes.
Then they will come back if from customer level now, the demand is way high. If you do slightly mistake, they will trade us straight away. I had a complaint from one of my best floor staff. You have a bad day. Kitchen might give you a bad food, but that's not the restaurant, that's not us. I even gave him refund, another food, still they would go and complain. And that floor staff's career is ruined because the boss will come. People don't know that we are family members as well. We have family.
Absolutely. And I get all that. And I'm delighted that you've managed to get out of the job if it was causing you that much stress. And that's what this report today is saying, the level of stress that people are under in work. Colin, you work at what and you rate your stress levels as?
10. I'm a printer.
You're a printer?
Mm-hmm.
And what's so stressful about printing?
Pharmaceutical labels, basically any sort of a mistake on a label and a person could die.
Oh, that's fairly stressful. Now,
yeah.
I assume are you actually designing the labels?
No, well, we're printing them, basically. So the designers do their work, but when we're printing them, we have to see if there's any mistakes or anything like that.
So you have to proofread everything you print?
Exactly. Plus, if a hickey goes across a 0, it looks like an 8. That's 8 grams. That could be something that could kill somebody too.
Oh, right, okay, right. Now...
Yeah, and it's night shift.
And in terms of has anything ever gone wrong?
Well, when I wasn't there, yeah. But obviously technology is a little bit better, but you always have that thing in the back of your mind to say, well, what if?
Okay, but thankfully nothing specific has gone wrong that's gotten you into big trouble or has killed anybody.
No, not as of yet. Put a faith in the mind.
All right, good man. Thanks very much. And one last one. Jonathan, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Jonathan?
Not bad yourself.
Jonathan, what do you work at and what would you rate your stress levels as?
I'm a truck driver. 10.
A 10?
Yeah.
How is truck driving stressful?
Huh?
How is truck driving stressful?
Because I drive an Arctic there with a 40-foot trailer in the back of me going around Dublin city centre.
Right. But I assume you're well trained to drive it.
Yeah, I am. But
I mean, it'd be stressful. It'd be stressful for me because I couldn't drive one to save me life. But if you were trained to drive it, where's the stress?
Is the times, you have time deliveries you're getting up to, you have the traffic, you have the pedestrians walking out in front of you, push bikes.
Oh right, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm getting it. I always wanted to be a truck driver, to be honest, because I always thought it was a great old job. You get to see the country and all that, but you're saying it's not all it's cracked up to be.
No, it's not. You're rushing to get your time deliveries.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. Right, I can see where the stress comes from, all right. Thanks very much indeed, Jonathan, and thank you all of you for your calls. Who will we give the cinema voucher to, lads? Pick one there. Pharmaceutical guy. Oh, yeah, that fellow who's on there a couple of minutes ago. Thank you very much indeed. Well done. You're listening to 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Now, talking of stress, as a mother, how did you feel when it came to breastfeeding your baby in a public place? Did you feel that society was judging you for doing so? And when you decide to breastfeed in public places like public transport or cafes or shopping centres, have you ever gotten any negative feedback? Well, as we speak, an initiative is taking place in Tallaght to increase breastfeeding and change the public perception of it. The Tallaght Welcomes Breastfeeding Initiative was launched today by journalist and breastfeeding advocate Siobhan O'Connor, who encouraged uptake from mothers and for the community to back breastfeeding in public places. Now, the initiative is being rolled out following figures released by the HSE earlier this year, which showed a stark difference in rates across Dublin, with initial breastfeeding uptake rates reported at 84% in Dublin South East, but as low as 48% in Dublin South West, which incorporates the Tallaght area. Hence the reason and the need for this campaign in the Tallaght area. Siobhan O'Connor, who used to work in this place here at 98 FM, joins me on the line to tell me a little bit more about this campaign. Siobhan, welcome to 98 FM.
Hello, Adrian, my old flower. How are you?
In fact, welcome back to 98 FM.
Thank you.
Siobhan, Tallaght welcomes breastfeeding. Tell me what this is all about and why the need to do it.
I think it's fantastic. And, you know, if we can get more women breastfeeding in public, it'll normalise the whole thing. And what Tallaght are trying to do in association with the Childhood Development Initiative is get people out there knowing that they're welcome in cafes, they're welcome in any restaurants. You know, if you go to a cafe, you want a lady who's there to sort of come over to you and say to you, who's working there, would you like a glass of water? Things like that, the simple things. And what Tallaght are doing is absolutely fantastic. They're advocating the use of these stickers that say Tallaght welcomes breastfeeding, and anywhere you see one of these stickers, come in, ladies, and get the boobs out. You know, that's the message. And I can't stand, Adrian, this word discreet. Whenever I'm breastfeeding, I take the full boob out. And I'll tell you why. You wouldn't tell a man who's eating his soup to cover up his face while he's eating his bowl of soup, you know? I think we need to get rid of this kind of attitude of get a scarf on top of the woman and cover up the baby. I mean, that's going to potentially disencourage people to continue breastfeeding.
Okay, now
they can't do it.
Okay, I was with a woman only recently. We were in a bar in a hotel, and she was breastfeeding, but she put this kind of tent over her, where she could see the baby. It kind of had this hoopy thing around it, and she could see the baby, but nobody else could.
Yes.
You're saying there should be no need to do stuff like that?
I want to eradicate that. Because this is absolutely detrimental to the woman's progression, the breastfeeding. This is why a lot of them give up. They feel they can't go out, they can't have a life, they can't socialise, and therefore the rates are low, in my opinion, because people feel they need to cover themselves. And I mean, that's when you're starting breastfeeding, Adrian, it's really tough because you're trying to establish it, you're trying to get the baby comfortable, and if the baby feels like they're being shrouded in this cloak, and they're going to subconsciously feel that as well.
But the baby won't really notice, will they?
The baby. The baby's
not really going to notice, though, if it's in a little tent.
Well, you see, the baby will, because you're faffing and fluffing. At the very start, when I did it a couple of years ago with my first little girl, Erin, I tried to do that thing with the scarf and everything, and it means you're kind of not getting the baby latched on. You can't see their face, you can't see where their mouth is. It does actually intervene in the process and makes it quite tough to do it. So I just feel it's a natural thing. It's the best start for your baby in life. Why are we being so prudish still? I mean, it's a throwback to Catholic Ireland of long time ago.
And Siobhan, are we being prudish still? I thought this negativity toward breastfeeding was a thing of the past, is it not?
It's slightly, it's getting better. I mean, the rates are getting better, but it's still sort of an issue for some people. I think it's a confidence issue as well. I think we need to empower women more to do it. They don't feel that they're comfortable enough to do it outside. I've done it everywhere, in a graveyard over in Paris, on the plane, in the bus. If people knew how easy it was, I think, and how portable you are, and how it empowers you to get out and about and have a life, I think they'd get more involved in it.
Sorry, Siobhan, I have to ask, under what circumstances were you breastfeeding in a graveyard?
Well, it was a very famous graveyard, Père Lachaise, over in Paris. We were actually sightseeing, and next of all, the baby went mad, and I was like, oh God, I have to get the boob out. So, nobody bats an eyelid over there, Adrian. It's still, we are the number one formula creators in the world, practically. We're one of the biggest worldwide. Formula is really kind of everywhere, and I think that people think that's an easier option. But if you get the right support at the beginning, you can really be successful in this breastfeeding world that is, and you'll give your baby the best start in life. Sickness prevents cancer. You lose weight. 500 calories a day.
Okay, so you are involved in the launch of Tala Welcomes Breastfeeding. And this initiative has been launched, I should think, in part to do with the fact that breastfeeding rates in the Tala area, or in Dublin Southwest, are as low as 48%.
Yes, and it's interesting that in the lower socioeconomic areas that it is lower, but I think it comes from whether your mum did it or not. A lot of my friends on the north side, if their mums didn't breastfeed, they didn't, because there is an awful lot of sort of negativity surrounding it from the mums, and we need to change this as well. A lot of mothers will say to you, get them into a routine with the old formula. But, there is no routine with breastfeeding. That's another thing that you can get them into a routine if it's a certain type of baby. But from my point of view, whenever I feel that she's upset, I put her on the boob. It's also a comforter. It's almost like the original soother. And I think for a lot of people, a lot of parental support is needed as well. And if your mums knew how good it was for your babies, they'd be encouraging you.
Okay, stay there for 1 second, Siobhan, because Anne, you had a question to ask about this, which is what?
Yeah, I was wondering why they don't pump the milk into a bottle when they're going out, so save all that, the hassle of, trying to find somewhere to feed your baby.
But isn't this the point of this, that it shouldn't be a hassle?
Well, it is a hassle by the sound of things.
Well, Siobhan, what do you say to that? Why don't women pump the milk before they go out somewhere?
Very good question, Anne. Anne, did you breastfeed yourself, hon?
No. 7 children, no.
Fair play to you, Anne. Jesus, you need a medal. No, I'll tell you what. It's very, very hard to pump in the initial stages because you don't have enough supply. The amount of milk that a baby can get out of your boob themselves is far superior to any pump. So it's actually quite hard to pump. Now, maybe after a couple of months you can do your pumping if you're going back to work or whatnot, but it's actually quite hard. So Anne, what we're trying to do is say to women, what's wrong with getting your boob out in public? Now, would you be offended if you saw a lady with her boob out, Anne?
Well, I might be a little bit embarrassed, but I understand as a woman that that's what they're doing.
And what would you be embarrassed? What would you be embarrassed about?
Well, you don't have to take the full boob out. I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? I never did it anyway, so I don't know.
Would you be offended by the full boob, Anne?
I don't know, really. I've never been in that position.
I know what you mean. Well, I suppose...
But Siobhan, you believe that a woman should feel comfortable enough to take her whole boob out if that's what she wants to do, and people shouldn't bat an eyelid?
Absolutely. Now, perhaps the lady in question, the breastfeeding mother, would feel more comfortable with a little scarf on. That's fine. But I think society should bin this word discreet and make women feel empowered to do what they want. This is feeding your child. This is giving your child the best start in life. This is not as if we're on a billboard with a sexy woman with her full boob out promoting some raunchy movie. This is what breasts were intended to do. This is their purpose. Therefore, we shouldn't be embarrassed about getting them out in public.
Okay, thank you, Anne. I overheard a conversation the other day in a cafe. Two women sitting there, another woman not sitting beside, or sitting kind of beside them, takes the boob out and starts feeding. And the other woman, who by the way was a young woman, said, "Oh, really? In a place where we're eating our dinner?" What do you say to people who, yeah, that's the true story, yeah.
Well, that baby's eating its dinner. I mean, this breastfeeding helps fight obesity, is an incredible immunity, prevents cancer. You lose weight, for God's sake, when you breastfeed. Like, why are people so, in Ireland in 2018, why does it feel like a throwback to the 1950s when the church ruled the country? Why aren't people more open? Breastfeeding women in Poland are considered the royalty. They're the ones that are feeding the next generation, rearing the next taxpayers. Like, this is primary. This is so important. And if we can just get rid of this negativity surrounding it and this old-fashioned attitude, we'll have a far healthier nation of children growing up. We'll eradicate obesity and we'll be on track to be the healthiest nation in the world.
And all it takes is feeding your baby with your boob.
Get the boob out and be loud and proud, Adrian.
All right. Siobhan, finally, this Tala Welcomes Breastfeeding Initiative, if anybody wants to find out more about it, who do they talk to?
Well, they can check out their local shop anywhere in Tala. Pretty much very soon it's going to have these stickers, Tala Welcomes Breastfeeding, or contact the Childhood Development Initiative, cdi.ie as well, or check out the hsc.ie. All the information's up there. And I hope more and more businesses get involved, because I think, this is what we need in society.
Okay, so if you happen to see a sticker that says Tala Welcomes Breastfeeding, you know that you can go in there and you can feed your baby without any concern. Siobhan O'Connor, thanks very much indeed for joining us on 98 FM.
Thanks, Adrian.
We'll take a very quick break, and I would love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp us 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Are you somebody who has a difficulty with this? Have you found it hard or embarrassing, or do you hate to see somebody breastfeeding in a public place? If that person still exists, I would love to hear from you on 6797 981. We'll take a very quick break. We're back in just a moment.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. New wood flooring fitted in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie. 98 FM.
I thought somebody like this was for the dark ages. We got a text in just a moment ago saying, any woman who insists on publicly breastfeeding like that woman whipping her boobs out is simply an exhibitionist. Are you somebody who agrees with that? Interestingly, that person wouldn't answer their phone when we called them. I'd love to hear from you on 6797 981. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Tina, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Tina.
How you doing?
Tina, you actually think that some women make too big a deal out of it?
I think so. I think some women like to make a point and they just lob it out for all to see. I mean, it can be done very discreetly.
Now, that was what Siobhan said a couple of minutes ago. She'll happily lob it out for all to see and doesn't care because...
I don't think there's a need for it. I mean, there are older generations around, and particularly, I would say, older men, and they do get awkward, and I don't think it's fair to purposely put somebody in that position when there's no need for it. And I don't mean draping yourself up with a tent or a scarf. You can buy discreet, clothing that is designed specifically for discreet breastfeeding. Actually recently we were visiting a friend, and they had a new baby, and she breastfed while we were there. My husband didn't even notice, because she was quite a shy person. I said,
okay, but I gave an example a couple of minutes ago, Tina, of somebody in whose company I was a couple of weeks ago, and she was breastfeeding, and I'd never seen one of these things before. She put on this kind of tent over her head, where it kind of had this ring thing. She could see the baby, but nobody else could, and she fed away. Now, why should she have to do that?
Absolutely not, but that might be a personal choice. Maybe she's a shy person.
Yeah, no,
maybe she's not confident about her own body.
Yes, and she may well be. I didn't even ask the question, to be honest, but I just thought it looked a little bit odd. And as Siobhan said a while ago, would you ask your granddad to, eat his dinner in a tent because he might slobber a bit? No.
No, I don't think there's a need for it in any form or shape at all. And I mean, my point initially was that woman saying, why can't you express into a bottle? I had to do it for 3 months because we medically had to know how much my daughter was getting because she had severe medical problems. And I successfully pumped for 3 months. And there was no problem. And I'm not saying that women should have to do that, but if they're embarrassed about it or they're going somewhere that they need to be discreet, it isn't a problem saying that it doesn't work properly. It does, because I did it myself. And
what would you say to that message a moment ago that said some women are exhibitionists when it comes to this? They, they show off about it, or they make.
I would agree to a certain extent. I'm not saying that every woman is. You know what I mean? And okay, if you want to do it by all means, but I don't think you should subject everybody else to looking at your boob if they don't want to see your boob. There's no shame in it, but I do think that some women like to make point of it.
Even that language you use, you shouldn't subject people to it. How are you subjecting people to the most natural thing in the world?
But it's not, you see, in the sense, yes, it's a natural method of feeding, but it's not a natural thing for old Catholic Ireland to see women with their breasts out all over the place in restaurants.
But we're not in old Catholic Ireland anymore.
I know, but are we not? Really, though. I mean, there still is an older generation there that if I went out for a cup of coffee in the morning to a little coffee shop and all the people were out after 10 o'clock mass having their little cup of coffee, is it fair to put it in their face, for want of a better word, if that's not what they're used to? Yes, slowly but surely we're educating people, and the younger generation coming up behind us will have no problem with it. But as I said,
but the only way,
when there's no need. I mean, you can the only way that breastfeed without showing it off to the world.
The only way that the next generation aren't going to have a problem with it is if we all get over it, basically.
Oh, yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I don't think there's any need for tents or scarves or anything like that. But as I said, there are methods of breastfeeding without plonking your boob on a table and for the baby to latch on. As I said, recently visited a friend in their house, in her sitting room. She breastfed the baby away. My husband didn't even know she breastfed. She was that discreet about it. You know, because you can buy, clothing that have little panels that pop up and the bra pops down and you don't see anything.
All right, stay there for 1 second. So you do believe, though, that some women are slightly exhibitionists when it comes to this? They make a big deal of it. Look at me, I'm breastfeeding.
I do. I'm talking a very small percentage.
All right, stay there for 1 second if you can, please. Our telephone number is 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. We're in the middle of a conversation all to do with, well, following on from the back of the launch in Tala today of a new initiative called Tala Welcomes Breastfeeding. And it's been launched because in the Dublin Southwest constituency area, which includes Tala, breastfeeding rates are the lowest in the whole of Dublin. Only 48% of women breastfeed in Dublin Southwest, compared to 84% in Dublin Southeast, which is what, Dunleary, Blackrock, Ballybrack, that sort of area. So we're asking, why? And we're trying to find out why there's even a need for this. Are you somebody who thinks if you're breastfeeding in a public place, cover it up? 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Jill, you're on Dublin's 98 FM. Hiya, Jill.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, thank you, Jill. What did you want to say on this?
Just in relation to the differences in breastfeeding rates, I would presume it's a lot to do with having the financial ability to access lactation consultants, get the support when you leave hospital. I mean, there's not a lot of people around you when you leave with a brand new baby that can tell you all what's going to happen, basically, and the difficulty you're going to have in facing breastfeeding. I mean, it's not exactly just popping them on and off you go. There's a lot of anxiety. I know, but
there would be, I would have thought, at least some talk with staff in the hospital before you leave in terms of teaching you, because they're there with you the very first time that you feed your child.
Well, they're there with you while you attempt. I mean, I attempted to get my child to latch for nearly 2 days, he wouldn't. It was causing me severe anxiety. I was crying. We didn't know. I had to get a hospital grade pump to try and get the colostrum out to feed him. I mean, the anxiety that it causes if you can't do it straight away, and if those women feel like they're not going to have that support once they leave hospital, then they're going to stop trying. Then you're going to turn to the formula.
And I do understand that for some women it's not as simple as people might paint it out to be. And yeah, that's totally understandable. However, we're talking about public perceptions around it. And if you can't breastfeed for whatever reason, you just can't get your child to breastfeed, fine. I understand that. I think everybody understands that. There's no pressure on you. Have you ever breastfed?
Oh yeah, I currently am breastfeeding.
Oh, you currently are, okay.
Yeah, and would have absolutely no problem in breastfeeding him in public.
Okay, and have you done?
Oh yes, yeah. Sure, during the summer I was on a ferry going across to England, was breastfeeding him, no one batting an eyelid. And as I said, nor should they.
And do you hide him under a tent like this lady?
Oh no.
No.
No, because I wouldn't eat my dinner in a tent, so I don't expect him to.
And what do you say to those who argue that, some women make a big deal out of this? It can be done very discreetly. Some women, just as you heard Siobhan say a while ago, just lob the boob out.
Well, I don't see how you could make a big deal out of feeding your child. I mean, when they're hungry, they're hungry. You can't tell them, hold on a second, and, I'll just manoeuvre myself into a position which is more acceptable for the public. You take it out, you feed them, you do what you have to do. I don't understand why anybody else would have an issue with it. It's nothing got to do with them. You're feeding your child. Let them carry on with what they're doing. I mean... Okay, so
in your opinion, there isn't even such a thing as a woman who might be an exhibitionist. She can feed her child whatever way she wants.
Absolutely. I don't understand how you could be, outlandish with feeding your child.
Okay, do me a favour, stay on the line there for 1 second if you can, please. Our telephone number is 6797 981. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. We're in the middle of a conversation all to do with breastfeeding and an initiative launched in Tala today. Tala Welcomes Breastfeeding is the name of this initiative, and it's all to basically encourage more women to breastfeed. But we're asking about the drawbacks, about the embarrassment that some people feel about breastfeeding in public places, but also the public's reaction to it. And the public, have you had any negativity? I'd love to hear from you on 6797 981. Or if you run a premises and you don't allow a woman to breastfeed, why? Jeremy's here with messages coming in on text message, on WhatsApp and on social media.
There's a huge reaction to this, Adrian, including the whole issue of pumping. And whether or not it's easy to do. There's a lot of misinformation being given out, says this texter. Pumping breast milk is not as easy as some people make it out to be. And then another text to back that up. My wife tried to express milk. We would have got more milk out of my nipples, to be honest with you. That's how difficult it was. Why are we putting women under pressure in this country to breastfeed? Leave them alone. Well, this isn't as much about women breastfeeding as much as about women breastfeeding in public. That's what the issue is. And we need to stop shaming women. There are certain places where breastfeeding is obviously more appropriate, shopping centres, but is a cafe suitable? Also, I believe that some women...
So why is a cafe not suitable?
I don't know, it's not me.
Okay, you go in and you eat your cake and your cup of tea. What's wrong with the baby having its lunch as well?
Well, I don't know if that texter is a man or a woman. Maybe you can text us back and let you know. As a man, I certainly wouldn't have a problem with a woman breastfeeding anywhere. In fact, we were at the cinema only a couple of weeks ago to see a kids' movie, and the woman to the left of me in the cinema was breastfeeding. Now, she didn't cover up. She didn't have the blanket across her. She didn't cover up. Didn't bother me.
It was dark in the cinema anyway, so what difference would it have made?
covering up.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is it didn't bother me. You could still see it. It's absolutely shameful that women don't feel comfortable breastfeeding in a public place. These people are absolute dinosaurs, and I would imagine all over the age of 60. You see, that's where I think that person is wrong. There's this perception here that the only people that have a problem with breastfeeding in public are dinosaurs, aren't they? These old religious jobs. I think it's across all ages, isn't it? Or am I wrong?
That's what we're trying to find out. Our telephone number is 6797981. Michael, I'm going to talk to you after the break. You don't have a problem with it as long as it's discreet.
Yes.
Okay, stay there.
Sorry, just one more message, Adrian, which this will annoy you as much as it annoyed me. The last message there. Can they not prepare it and carry it out in a bottle? Why should they have to? Why should they?
Try and get that person on the phone. We're back in a second.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. Delivering your new bed in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie. 98 FM.
I want to find out how many dinosaurs we have left who have an issue with breastfeeding in public places. Like the dinosaur who sent this message in. That should not happen in restaurants. It would put you off your dinner. They should have booths for boobs so we don't have to watch them. Now, interestingly, again, that person didn't answer their phone because you know you're going to get lashed out of it. That's why you're not answering your phone, you big chicken. Anyway, the point being, I want to do a very quick social experiment, okay? If you're somebody who has an issue with breastfeeding in public, I want you to text me your age and your gender. Because I want to find out is this an old Catholic Ireland thing, or is this something that some younger people have an issue with? So let me paint a scenario. You're in a cafe, a busy cafe in Blanchardstown Shopping Centre, and it's full of mammies and daddies and kids, and they're all having breakfast on a Saturday, okay, in Blanchardstown Shopping Centre. And there's a woman there who is breastfeeding in a very, very visible way. She's not hiding her child under a tent. She is breastfeeding publicly. Would you have an issue with that? What I want you to do is text your your age and your gender. I'm trying to find out whether it's more men than women, but also to find out if this is a young person's thing or an old person's thing. So again, I want you to imagine this situation. You're in Blanchardstown Shopping Centre. I'm just using this as an example on a Saturday morning, and you go into one of the many cafes to have a cup of coffee and a sticky bun or your breakfast. Okay? And in that restaurant is a woman, and she is having her breakfast, but her baby is having her breakfast as well. She's breastfeeding and she's doing nothing to hide it. She's just getting on with it. Would you have an issue with that? If you would, I want you to text your age and your gender to 0877 98 98 98. And if we get absolutely no texts at all, then we'll know nobody has an issue with this anymore. Which is all good news, is it not? Who am I going to next, lads? Who's been on hold the longest? Sorry, Michael, you were saying that you would have no problem with it once it's discreet.
Yes.
Okay, so that scenario I paint for you, a coffee shop in Blanchardstown Shopping Centre next Saturday morning, would you have an issue with it if it was visible to all that this woman was breastfeeding?
No, I wouldn't have a problem with it at all whatsoever.
Right, so why are you saying it has to be discreet?
Well, I was in church there about 4 months ago, and maybe 5 minutes left of the Mass itself, the girl just done it right in the middle of the church in front of everybody else. Now, I didn't think that was right and proper. She could have waited. No, it's nothing about a baby needs it there.
Well, you see, what I was about to say was, for you and I, it wouldn't be appropriate if you and I started eating our Sunday lunch while we're sitting in a church, okay?
No.
But we're able to discipline ourselves and decide, well, I'll have my dinner afterwards. A baby needs to be fed when a baby needs to be fed.
Exactly. But, there is being discreet, you know what I mean? I haven't got a problem with it. I agree with girls doing that. But I've seen it in my youth, when nobody had anything and people couldn't afford to buy milk, they breastfed children. And I've seen it all the time. So it's not a Catholic thing or it's not a church thing. It's people what they do and how things change, how they feed baby. They go the easy way now by buying formula, mixing it up and giving it to the baby. It's too hard to do it the other way with some girls, and some girls can't do it because it's too hard for them. and that's all acceptable. And I have no problem with any girl, age, young or old, breastfeeding.
Well, actually, I'm kind of shocked by the responses that we're getting. We're asking you if you would have a problem with that scenario, your gender and your age. And I'm actually quite surprised. I'll tell you why in a couple of minutes, but I'm actually very surprised by what's coming in. Let me read a message that's just come in, and it said, this is from 24-year-old Adam. And Adam says, it would bother me in a restaurant if I was having my food and some lady was sitting beside me with her nipples out. It's a restaurant, not a breastraunt. Right. Why are you even looking? Matt, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Matt?
Hello, Adrian. How you doing?
Good, thank you, Matt. You would love to see more women doing it.
Yeah, I'm really positive about this. You know, I really enjoy actually the start of that conversation. There was actually Society of Polish Women mentioned on the start of the program. I'm a Polish man myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the resident of Ireland, living here nearly 14 years. I'm 41 years old, male.
Okay.
Of course.
Yep.
And now, this is exactly my outlook on this. You know, I remember the time in the 80s in Poland, when my mother actually was brought me to public places with my sisters, and she was breastfeeding actually one of my sisters at the time. And that was absolutely socially acceptable in the old it was old communism and socialism Poland. You know, people didn't actually make a big deal of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still these days, actually, it's recognized, actually, it's a natural thing, you know. Do you know, everyone know the name of Sigmund Freud?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Yeah, you know, the Freud and psychoanalysis, for example.
Yes.
I like to bring this over here to this program, actually, because it is, he said, actually, it is an infant sphere's human relationship, biological and psychological, emotional. That's exactly what it is. So I think it's beautiful, and it should be celebrated. And
instead of people saying you should cover it up or you should be discreet, your point, and this goes back to what Siobhan was saying earlier on, and that's the lady you're talking about. Just do it wherever you feel like it.
Yeah, the way it works, actually, it's a forced human relationship with a mother, which is one of the most beautiful acts, you know, actually we can experience in our lives since we actually are born. So, you know, the people who coming over with their opinions, of course they have a right to their opinion. Everyone have a right to their opinion, as this man or lady before. But look, cover up on discretion. No, it's not actually applied to this because now it's a forced human relationship with mother. It's
okay, so nobody should have an issue with this. That's your point.
Well, basically, my point is every parent should have a freedom to decide how they feed their baby, and nobody should be judged by the path of they take. That's exactly my outlook on this, because we don't actually maybe appreciate that much these days for the freedom of speech actually has been given to us, really.
Okay, let me go to Lisa. You're on 98 FM. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Adrian. How are you?
Lisa, you find that women tend to be more judgmental than men when it comes to breastfeeding.
Yes, I am still breastfeeding my 22-month-old son.
Okay.
And I have breastfed him everywhere. I've breastfed him on the train to Belfast, on the beaches during the summer. I've breastfed him in Tato Park, in the zoo, in normal parks, shopping centres, cafes, restaurants, you name it. Well, if he needed it, he got it, no problem. The most judgmental person I ever had was a woman, and I was feeding him, and it was in Liffey Valley Shopping Centre, and they have a nursing room in there, but at the time it was closed. So I was sitting out, wasn't even upstairs where the food court is, I was sitting outside one of the shops, and I was sitting there feeding him. He was only a small baby at the time, very discreetly, and she actually gave me the daggers. She looked me up and down and tutted at me as if to say, that's disgraceful.
Really?
And that's not the first time I've gotten that off women. I've had it loads of times.
Well, the point I was making, women are more judgmental than men, and the reason I'm interested in your call is I asked people to text in whether they would have a problem with that scenario I painted in a shopping centre next weekend, okay?
Yeah.
And would you believe that the majority of the people who had a problem with that scenario I painted were women?
Are all women. Yeah.
I would say, let me just see, hang on, 78% of them are women.
Yeah. I'm from Ballyfermot, and Ballyfermot, like Tala, has a very, very small population of breastfeeders. And
why do you think that is?
I don't know, and I think it's like what Siobhan hit on at the top of the show. It's just down to the area, probably, and like Tala, it is a disadvantaged area, and there probably aren't as many supports available.
See, I don't really buy that as an excuse.
I don't know. I mean, I'm the first person.
I mean, I would have thought if somebody is in an economically disadvantaged area and perhaps doesn't have as much money as the next person, then it would make economic sense to breastfeed.
Of course it does, and I know that because I tried breastfeeding my daughter, who's now 17. And I lasted 3 days and I gave up and I put her on formula. But with my youngest son, I was completely determined I was going to do this. And I got great support from the hospital, which was the Rotunda Hospital. And I got great support from the public health nurse. I don't know why. There probably should be more supports because the early stages of breastfeeding are very, very tough if you have never breastfed.
Absolutely. I know. I agree with you. But anyway, your overall point is women are much more judgmental than men. And Emma, just finally, you didn't feel confident enough to breastfeed in public. Why not?
Well, just obviously I've seen people breastfeed before, and then when I had my son, the looks that people got when they were breastfeeding anyway, I didn't want to get them looks. And like that girl said, it is more women than men. Which
is absolutely bizarre. I would have thought it would be women that would, and that's what our survey just now has just proven as well, that most of the people who had an issue with that were women, which I just really find peculiar. So we need a whole attitude change for somebody like you, Emma, to feel more confident.
Yeah, like I even got, like, not the tent, but I got those special bras that you can get that have a part on the front of it that you can remove and you can't see any parts of the breast.
Yes, I've seen them, yeah. But the point being, you shouldn't have to. No more than you're going to eat your own dinner in a tent, a child shouldn't have to either. But anyway, it's very interesting, that whole conversation. Thank you very much, Lee, for all of your calls. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. If there's something you want to bring up on the programme, send us an email, dublintalks@98fm.com, or a private message through facebook.com/Adrian K and Jeremy D. Have a great Wednesday. I'm back with you again tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Barry Dunn is on the way, and in the next hour, he's got some great music lined up like these.
So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. It's gonna make me feel like I'm the only girl in the world.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. Delivering your new mattress in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie. 98 FM.